We're still looking at farmers and herdsmen's conflict, but this time we're going to be looking at government's efforts at finding a lasting solution. And to look at this with us, we have in our Abuja studio, Dr. Andrew Kwasari, who is Senior Technical Advisor, Agriculture Interventions Coordination Office of the Vice President. Good morning, Dr. Kwasari.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. The general impression is that government is not doing enough about this conflict that is just ravaging the whole country, it seems. Please, can you give us a clear picture of what government has done in this respect?
Thank you for the opportunity. Government has done a lot because this government, when it came into power, considered livestock as a whole, the development of livestock as a whole, very, very important, and the policy that dealt with general agriculture development captured specifically what government needed to do concerning livestock development, which brings us to the conflicts between the herders or the livestock farmers and the crop farmers. Immediately, the Honorable Minister of Agriculture embarked upon review of what has been done in the past and what needs to be done to find a sustainable solution to these menace. Because what is very important is to find a sustainable solution. He embarked on behalf of this government to tour the entire country. He started in Yola, visiting the Lamido of Yola with the livestock farmers there, then went to the southwest, went to the south, to the northwest and north central. After that, he instituted or constituted a policy group that had in its team the development partners, FAO, stakeholders across the crop and livestock farmers, and from the academia, from the research institutes. And this policy dialogue sat and reviewed and looked at the available laws, look at the conflicts, look at what we need to do, considered the issues. What we came away with was that this issue has core factors, primary factors driving it. For instance, primarily resources. And these resources, from our understanding, had to do with the land, the pasture, the economy of it as a whole. Above all, also, the superimposition of climate change that is threatening these resources, water and pasture, and forcing a migration outside of the normal areas. But above all, when this was gathered, government convened a conference of all the stakeholders to again look at what we've gathered from the field, what the feelers are, and to deliberate and to propose. That conference came and went, and the recommendations were finally presented to the government last week. It took a long time, but the administration is also careful that many attempts were made in the past, and there is need to have a strategic thinking and to have evidence-based, science-based approach to this. The whole of this is science. The whole of this is economy. The whole of this is socio-economic and conflict resolution. Now government is at the point of implementation, and government has broadly also looked at implementation on 4 pillars. One pillar has to be the economic pillar that deals with the economies of livestock and crop production. Second pillar has to deal with the security. Third pillar has to do with conflict resolution from the grassroots. And the fourth pillar has to do with communication. Government has clear documents. Government has gotten buy-in at the highest level. Currently, the report of this committee is being considered by the NEC. The NEC has set up a committee that is looking specifically not so much at further policy issues, but implementation with clear buy-in from the grassroots. Where we are at now is looking at how do we get this solved. Okay, we have identified the problems. There is population growth, there is climate change, there is livestock population increase, there is the shortage of grasses. So what does science tell us? What did other countries do? What are the best practices that we have seen in other countries, not so different from ours? The Latin American countries, India, African countries, who have made progress on this and solved this conflict. And basically, the technical committee have told the government, and government has bought into it, and government has taken this plan. And I am very happy to tell Nigerians that government is not resting on this. For instance, we are now specifically looking at the flash points, because government strategically have agreed that we may not be able to implement this all over, but let's start from where we have the highest conflicts, the states that have been in this for ages, this age-old conflict, and we are considering to phase it out. Phased implementation to deal with Adamawa, Taraba, Nasarawa, Benue, Plateau, Kaduna, and then the other areas further north to deal with Zamfara and Sokoto, to look at these situations and say, okay, what suits best? And I am happy also really to have this opportunity to let Nigeria know that the...
If we may come in here. Yeah, you've talked about transversing across the country, holding meetings with the stakeholders, and you've come up with different ideas on what to do. And now you say you are at the implementation stage. You mentioned 4 pillars that you're looking at. When you say you're at the implementation stage, where exactly are you doing this? And what's the feedback like from those whom you're having to deal with in the course of implementing this?
Okay, thank you again to tell you that, as I said when I started, that the final report was presented last week. And the government, because of the importance of this topic and because of the feelers government is having, said we cannot waste any more time. So we are now at the phase of implementation. The feelers are captured in the plan that if once we can deal with the resource issues, once we can deal with how can we significantly find a place where the livestock farmers can have grass, can have water, can have a place to rest, these will tremendously reduce the traffic. And in these flashpoints, interestingly, government also over the years have found areas that have been gazetted as specifically for livestock businesses. What this administration now took away from this is that, yes, these gazetted areas for livestock businesses must also have the joint implementation with the state government. And that is why the NEC committee have also keyed in with federal government to say, yes, categorically this has to be implemented jointly. And the feedback, therefore, is starting from the flashpoints, from the frontline states, is to begin to do a sustainable approach where livestock farming can be sustainable, can be controlled, and we can have higher yields, and therefore can give confidence once the owners of these businesses are carried along together with their crop farmers in the states where we have these specifically identified areas. And this is ongoing. The interaction is ongoing. Very soon you will see models that have been clearly looked upon and that has ownership as a business, that the people see it as this is the way forward. And what I would like to add here is that it is very good to see the depth of the research and what the stakeholders, primarily, what the stakeholders believe. They all want peace. They are looking for peace. They want to do their businesses in peace. And both crop and livestock farmers have to find a way to do this sustainably. And this is where the science of the research that the federal government has done and looked at.
Doctor, I beg your pardon, I have to butt in here. Livestock farming is a business. So the livestock farmers are businessmen. That's one. And then two, all these issues you're talking about, these solutions that you're proffering, or that government is proffering, are these livestock farmers who are nomadic in nature willing to follow these plans that government has?
Thank you for that question. Yes, it is interesting also that we have perception and then we have hard science. What science have shown, yes, you can say the livestock farmers are nomadic in nature. The next question then scientifically is, why are they nomadic in nature? Why do they move? It's in search of resources primarily. So they are willing, and we have cases, success cases of hitherto called nomadic livestock farmers who have settled in many parts of this country. We have interacted with them and we have seen them, and they enumerated the benefits of having this settlement as long as it is done consultatively and that there is buy-in from them. And they are willing to grant this buy-in. There must be transparency, there must be support from government, there must be approach that seems to show government to now recognize livestock farming as any other farming activity. So there is need for incentives, and the incentives have been identified. Basically, how do we have improved pasture? How do we have improved breeds of animal? How do we give support through health, both health for the animal and health for the owners of the livestock farmers? So if to answer your question directly, the feelers from the livestock farmers is very, very positive. They are willing, they are aware of some of these successes, and they also have their own challenges. And they told us categorically part of the dangers that are attendant to this pastoralism. So I think government has gotten it right. It took so long to come. I am happy. I would rather be apologetic, and that government might have erred on the side of caution by taking so long from 2016 to date to fashion out this plan. But because many plans have been torn out in the past, I may wish to say on my own that maybe hastily, this is my own opinion, but this government has taken time to look in depth at these problems. And now, all we would plead with Nigerians is give a little time. Give a little time, and there is a sense of urgency from the highest point of governance. I remember clearly the Honorable Minister of Agriculture saying at the meeting this week that whatever we need to do now, we must do it hastily.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Kwasari. Thank you very much, but we will hope that the timelines are tight so that all these killings can end.